Hello, all you freedom-loving people. After President Trump reacted, Colombia quickly backed down and picked up their illegal immigrants, and Rubio and Radcliffe made waves with their first moves. Okay, let's get into it. The massive deportation plan of the Trump administration targeting illegal immigrants suffered some setbacks and victories last week. A decision was made after Colombia refused to allow 2 U.S. military planes containing a total of 160 deportable immigrants to land. Colombian President Gustavo Petro posted a message on X earlier in the day stating that he would not allow these planes to enter Colombian airspace because the U.S. treats Colombian migrants as criminals. Petro said, "Do not demand that I accept deportees from the U.S. handcuffed and on military aircraft." He demanded that the United States establish a protocol for the dignified treatment of migrants before Colombia receives them. President Trump responded quickly. He wrote on True Social, "Petro's denial of these flights has jeopardized the national security and public safety of the United States, so President Trump announced retaliatory measures against Colombia." He announced that a 25% tariff was imposed on all goods from Colombia, and with plans to raise that rate to 50% within a week. In addition, President Trump directed his administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures: a travel ban and an immediate visa revocation on the Colombian government officials and all allies and supporters, visa sanctions on all party members, family members, and supporters of the Colombian government, enhanced customs and border protection inspection on all Colombian nationals and cargo on national security grounds, and for the IEEPA Treasury, banking, and financial sanctions to be fully imposed. President Trump said that more measures will follow. He said these measures are just the beginning. Then the Colombian president was quick to compromise. He decided that day to provide a presidential plane to pick up the migrants who were deported from the United States and who had not been admitted to the United States that morning. The Colombian government statement said, "This measure responds to the government's commitment to guarantee dignified conditions. In no way have Colombians, as patriots and subjects of rights, been or will be banished from Colombian territory." Mexico also rejected a request last week to land a U.S. military plane carrying migrants, but Mexico then also accepted 4 other deportation flights that were carrying illegal migrants who were being sent back to Mexico. And now Venezuela may be next on the list to receive a plane full of illegal immigrants. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA, has said that it arrested dozens of people during a recent raid in Colorado that targeted the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. The DEA's Rocky Mountain Division, in a post on Sunday night, said its agents, along with federal and local officials, conducted an early morning operation at a makeshift nightclub in Adams County outside of Denver. Drugs, weapons, and cash were seized in the raid, and 49 illegal immigrants were taken into custody by U.S. immigration and enforcement officials in Denver. President Trump visited California on Friday, despite a war of words between President Trump and Governor Gavin Newsom over disaster relief efforts in the Golden State. Before the start of the trip, the two of them had a candid exchange during the visit and interacted well. When President Trump's plane arrived, Newsom waited at the end of the boarding stairs to greet him. When they met, they exchanged goodwill and shook hands for 10 seconds.
Most importantly, thank you for being here. It means a great deal to all of us, not just the folks in Palisades, the folks in Altadena that were devastated. We're going to need your support. We're going to need your help. You were there for us during COVID. I don't forget that. And I have all the expectations that we'll be able to work together to get this speedy recovery.
This was the first time that the two of them have met since 2020. In their joint interview, President Trump thanked Newsom for welcoming him, and he said that they would discuss and solve problems together. Newsom also responded to President Trump, saying that President Trump's visit to the disaster area would mean a lot to the traumatized residents of the Bluffs and Eaton areas. He also thanked President Trump for his support during COVID-19. He said he would never forget it. Despite California's often radical anti-Trump posturing, the warmth flowing this time was a two-way street, or at least out of courtesy and respect. President Trump praised local officials as great California leaders, both Democrats and Republicans. He promised, saying that the federal government is standing behind you 100%, and he expressed great love for California. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass offered President Trump an official welcome on behalf of the city. She noted the significance of President Trump's visit shortly after being sworn in. But there were also arguments during their talks. The most tense argument between President Trump and Bass was over how long it would take for homeowners to get the permits they needed to rebuild. At a round table at a local fire station on Friday, Bass had told President Trump that it was unsafe for residents to return. They haven't even been allowed to see the devastation up close yet. Bass explained that it would take time to properly clean up the hazardous waste, which President Trump criticized as bureaucratic.
And the number one thing that we are going to do immediately, and you will see this happen, is to clear out the debris. And you know we're concerned right now over the weekend because of the potential rain, but we are going to move as fast as we can, but we want you to be safe. And we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't cost a lot.
Yes, and they can.
You should let them do it, because by the time you hire contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
If a family...
The people are willing to get a dumpster and do it themselves and clean it out.
And they can
There's
do
not that much left. It's all incinerated.
That's right.
And, you know, it's just going to take a long time if you do. You can do some of it, but a lot of these people, I know that guy right there that's talking. I know my people. You'll be on that thing tonight, throwing the stuff away, and your site it'll look perfect within 24 hours, and that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to wait around for 7 months till the city hires some demolition contract that's going to charge him $25,000 to do his lot.
The mayor made the claim of expediting the process. However, the owners expressed disbelief and confusion because the mayor said that even if the process was expedited, it would take at least 18 months before homeowners could possibly clean their houses. One resident told Bass, "We were told last night by the Army Corps of Engineers that it'd be 18 months. So if you're telling us now faster, is it 6 months?" Before the mayor could respond, President Trump chimed in that 6 months is no good. He said he doesn't want to wait around for 7 months. Hesitantly and in an unsure tone, Bass responded, "We think within a week." But President Trump thinks that even a week is too long. He asked that residents be given permission to clean their houses within a day. In the end, Los Angeles County authorities agreed to President Trump's proposal. At a mayoral meeting with Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass on Sunday night, it was announced that Pacific Palisades would be reopened to residents during the day on Monday. Residents were allowed to visit their lots as long as they wanted to until 5 p.m. On the same day, President Trump also visited areas in western North Carolina that were severely affected by Hurricane Helene last year. Following his visit to the disaster areas, President Trump signed an executive order, and he called for the creation of a council to review the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. In his order, he cited concerns about political bias within the agency. The order states that FEMA has failed to provide Americans with the resources and support that they needed during disasters. This was despite obligating nearly $30 billion in disaster aid annually over the past 3 years. In addition, the order states that the resources have been used to support missions that are beyond the agency's scope. This includes activities that support illegal aliens. The order calls for the creation of a review council that will be co-chaired by Homeland Security and Defense Secretaries. This could be one of Kristi Noem's first tasks after being confirmed as Secretary of Homeland Security. the Council has to submit a report detailing its assessment of FEMA's disaster in a public meeting within 90 days. In addition, today, Vice President J.D. Vance traveled to Damascus, Virginia, to visit other areas affected by Hurricane Helene. Talking to reporters, he also exposed FEMA for not doing their job in North Carolina after the hurricane.
It's beautiful, the people are kind and friendly, and they've got a great community here, but obviously got slammed very hard by the hurricane. And I think, unfortunately, while the people have done an incredible job at rebuilding this community, they have not had a federal government that's really been on their side. I've heard so many stories just in the last hour that I've been on the ground of federal agencies that have not developed and deployed the resources necessary, of federal bureaucrats that have been a barrier as opposed to a facilitator of some of the federal resources. And I think the country has decided collectively that we want to help the regions of our country that were devastated by this flood. So why are the bureaucrats not doing the American people's will and frankly holding up some of the aid here? I've been the Vice President of the United States for all of 7 days. This is, I think, my 7th day on the job, and this is an incredible place to have my first official trip. I heard so many good stories of good people helping their neighbors rebuild. And I think one of the takeaways of just my time the last week being the people's vice president is they should have higher expectations for their federal government. I talk to so many people who will say, in effect, well, it's the federal government, oh, the bureaucracy, oh, the red tape. No. The bureaucracy and the red tape is not an excuse for the government to not do its job. We're not going to be perfect. We never will be. Government is as fallible as the people who run it, but we can do a heck of a lot better than we have over the last few years, and that is something that President Trump and I are committed to doing. And let me just leave you with one final thought. I know that a lot of the people watching on the local news, look, this is a part of our country, Appalachian, Virginia, that has been ignored and left behind for decades, for generations in this country. Again, we're never going to be perfect, but I promise you that this administration will not forget you. We love you, we're rooting for you, and we want to be part of this incredible recovery here in Southwestern Virginia. God bless you guys. Thanks for being here.
Today, on his first day as Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth spoke to reporters outside the Pentagon, saying that there will be a major shift in how the DoD operates from here forward. Hegseth made those remarks after the Senate confirmed him in a 51-50 vote on January 24th. Vice President J.D. Vance came to the Senate to help Hegseth get confirmed after a 50-50 stalemate in the upper chamber. The major shift in the military comes as President Trump is intensifying his attack on government diversity, equity, and inclusion DEI programs by banning them from the military.
And today there are more executive orders coming that we fully support on removing DEI inside the Pentagon, reinstating troops who were pushed out because of COVID mandates, Iron Dome for America. This is happening quickly. And as the Secretary of Defense, it's an honor to salute smartly, as I did as a junior officer and now as the Secretary of Defense, to ensure these orders are complied with rapidly and quickly. Every moment that I'm here, I'm thinking about the guys and gals in Guam, in Germany, in Fort Benning and Fort Bragg, on missile defense sites and aircraft carriers. Our job is lethality and readiness and warfighting. We're going to hold people accountable. I know the chairman agrees with that. The lawful orders of the President of the United States will be executed inside this Defense Department swiftly and without excuse. We will be no better friend to our allies and no stronger adversary to those who want to test us and try us. So, Mr. Chairman, thanks for welcoming me today. I look forward to serving the troops, the warriors of this department. It's the honor of a lifetime, and we're going to get to work.
In response to President Trump's call for a truce, Russian President Vladimir Putin said in an interview on Friday that Moscow was ready for a calm conversation, including nuclear arms control and economic issues. Putin said, "We can have quite a lot of points of contact with the current administration and search for solutions to key issues of today." Putin not only praised President Trump as not only clever, but a pragmatic man. He also said, "I find it hard to imagine that he would make decisions that would hurt the American economy." And Putin even openly agreed with President Trump's narrative of the last election. Putin said, We always had a business-like, pragmatic, but also trusting relationship with the current U.S. president. I couldn't disagree with him that if he had been president, if they hadn't, the crisis that emerged in Ukraine in 2022 could have been avoided. Putin says that Russia is willing to negotiate. But in 2022, Zelensky was not willing to involve Russia in the negotiations. Putin said, "How is it possible to conduct talks if they are banned? If the talks start in the existing legal framework, they would be illegitimate, and the results of those talks could also be declared illegitimate." He suggested that the two sides sit down and talk. He said, "We'd better meet and have a calm conversation on all issues of interest to both the United States and Russia based on today's realities." But Zelensky believes that Putin is trying to maneuver to the detriment of Ukraine. Shortly after CIA Director John Ratcliffe took office, changes took place at the CIA. The CIA released a statement on Saturday supporting the theory that the COVID-19 virus pandemic stemmed from an accidental leak at a Wuhan lab. The discovery was not the result of any new intelligence. This report was completed during the tenure of former CIA Director William Burns. It was declassified and released on Saturday after CIA Director John Ratcliffe was sworn in on Thursday. Ratcliffe told Fox News, "I had the opportunity on my first day to make public an assessment that actually took place in the Biden administration, so it can't be accused of being political." The CIA has assessed that the most likely cause of this pandemic that has wrought so much devastation around the world was because of a lab-related incident in Wuhan. The statement added, however, that there was less credibility in assessing this conclusion. Ratcliffe added that the CIA will continue to investigate that moving forward. Earlier reports on the origin of COVID-19 have split over whether the coronavirus emerged from a Chinese lab, potentially by mistake, or whether it arose naturally. In an interview with Breitbart News on Friday, Ratcliffe said that he wanted the CIA to abandon its neutral stance on the origins of the virus and get off the sidelines. He said, "One of the things that I've talked about a lot is addressing the threat from China on a number of fronts, and that goes back to why 1 million Americans died and why the Central Intelligence Agency has been sitting on the sidelines for 5 years and not making an assessment about the origins of COVID. That's a day one thing for me." A CIA spokesperson said that the shift in position was based on the existing reporting basis and that this critical intelligence would have an impact on U.S.-China relations. CIA officials said that the new assessment had been in the works for some time and was not an act of subservience to the new leaders. Breitbart News reported that a whistleblower alleges that the CIA analyst who was responsible for determining the origins of the COVID-19 virus was bribed to deny the possibility that the virus came from the Wuhan lab. In the final weeks of the Biden administration, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan ordered a new classified review of the origins of the COVID pandemic. This comes after President Trump ended Anthony Fauci's security detail on Thursday night, which was being provided by the National Institutes of Health. President Trump said, "When you work for the government, at some point your security detail comes off." He also said, they all made a lot of money. They can hire their own security. Secretary of State Marco Rubio released a statement to all U.S. diplomatic offices on Friday. He announced an immediate 90-day freeze on nearly all foreign aid worldwide, except for emergency food programs and military aid to Israel and Egypt. The move involves about $60 billion in funding from the State Department and the U.S. Agency for International Development for projects around the world. The cable calls for immediate stop work orders on existing foreign assistance, and it pauses new aid. The administration will develop new evaluation criteria over the next month to determine whether the aid meets President Trump's foreign policy goals. The review will be completed within 85 days, at which time a decision will be made on whether to continue, adjust, or terminate the programs. In a public statement on Wednesday, Rubio said that Every dollar we spend, every program we fund, and every policy we pursue must be justified with the answer to 3 simple questions. Does it make America safer? Does it make America stronger? Does it make America more prosperous? The freeze took many people by surprise. A humanitarian official said on Saturday, it's a global freakout at the moment. This is because the U.S. is consistently the world's largest humanitarian donor. Another official noted that the scope and speed of the aid freeze was much greater than expected. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you. But please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard that many of you don't get notifications of our videos anymore on YouTube. So when you do subscribe on YouTube, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.